Hi, I'm Marvin Smitty Smith. In this portion of the video, with the help of the LEZIONI company, we'll show you the basic components of a cymbal, the different sizes, shapes, sounds, and types of cymbals, and we'll show you how general manufacturing techniques can affect a cymbal's overall sonic character. We'll also cover cymbal selection, care and maintenance, and we'll give you some tips to enhance your cymbal playing. Throughout my career, people have identified me by and complimented me on my cymbal sound. I can thank the LEZIONI company in part for that, but I've also developed an ear to hear what a good cymbal sounds like. Having a nice sounding set of cymbals not only enhances your overall drum sound, but also the music that you play. Now, you're probably asking yourself, how can I choose a good cymbal? The first step is understanding how a cymbal creates sound, and then understanding the basic components or parts of a cymbal. One of the things to look for in a cymbal is the kind of harmonics it creates when played. A good cymbal should produce a multitude of harmonics, which will blend with the other instruments you're playing with. Although the way a cymbal produces sound is very complex, there are some basic elements of design that influence the sound characteristics. There are three main playing areas of a cymbal, and they are the bell, the main body, and the edge. Understanding more about these areas will enhance your cymbal playing. The sound that's produced at the bell will be bright and sharp, but it won't have as much sustaining power as the main body or the edge. This knowledge implies that the bell would be more suitable for short staccato rhythms, as in Latin, rock, and funk. The main body for more sustained patterns, as in ride cymbal patterns. And the edge for crashes. When choosing a ride cymbal, it's important to decide how much ping versus spread you're looking for. In general, a heavier cymbal with a higher bow will produce a more ping sound, like the ping ride. A thinner, lighter cymbal with a flatter bow will produce more spread, like the light ride. We'll use these same two cymbals to highlight another consideration. The heavier cymbal will produce a higher pitch. The lighter cymbal will produce a lower pitch. Heavier cymbal, higher pitch. Lighter cymbal, lower pitch. Let's consider the size of your ride cymbal. In general, the larger the cymbal, the more volume it produces. In other words, a 22-inch cymbal will produce more volume than an 18-inch cymbal. This should be considered depending on the type of music you play and/or the size of the band you're playing with. A cymbal with a higher bow will produce a brighter sound and a higher pitch. A cymbal with a flatter bow will produce a darker sound and a lower pitch. The ping ride has a higher bow, thus resulting in a brighter sound and higher pitch. The K ride has a flatter bow, which results in a darker sound and a lower pitch. So remember, a higher bow gives a brighter sound and a higher pitch. A flatter bow gives a darker sound and a lower pitch. The size of a cymbal's bell affects the amount of overtones it produces. A smaller bell will produce less overtones. A larger bell will produce more overtones. The flat top ride here has no bell at all. This will produce very few overtones. The mini cup ride has a small bell on it. This will produce more overtones than the flat top and add just a little more body to the sound of the cymbal. The ping ride has what we consider an average sized bell. This will produce even more overtones and add more body to the sound of the cymbal. The rock ride has an even larger bell and will produce even more overtones and add even more body to the sound of the cymbal. The hammering process is an important step in the manufacturing of the cymbal. This process greatly affects a cymbal's sonic characteristics. There are two basic hammering styles. The first is a more random hammering style, which can be found in the K-zildjian range. This produces a dry sound and dark overtones. The second is a more machine hammering style, which can be found in the A-zildjian range. This produces a bright sound and high-pitched overtones. This is a K-zildjian cymbal. Notice how it creates a dark or warm sound. This is an A-zildjian cymbal. Notice how it creates a bright or high-pitched sound. Another design characteristic that affects a cymbal's overall sound is the tonal grooves. Tonal grooves carry the vibrations of the cymbal from the bell to the edge. A cymbal without tonal grooves will give a cymbal more definition. This is a design characteristic of certain new cymbals, like the K-Custom Ride. The K-Custom Ride has no tonal grooves on the top or the bottom. This produces more definition, or ping. The K-Custom Medium Ride has tonal grooves on the top, but no tonal grooves on the bottom. This will produce a bit more spread. The K-Light Ride has tonal grooves on the top and the bottom. This will produce even more spread. Adding rivets to your cymbal will greatly increase its sustain. Here we have two K pre-aged 20-inch cymbals. This one has no rivets. The other one has rivets placed in the traditional manner, 6 rivets around the circumference of the cymbal. The riveted or sizzle cymbal, as it is more commonly known, is a great cymbal for jazz music. It creates a plush backdrop for a soloist to solo over. An alternative type of rivet placement is known as the cluster. The cluster is 3 rivets placed in a small area of the cymbal. This placement has been popularized by Louis Bellson and Peter Erskine. Here we have 2 18-inch K rides, one without the rivets and one with the cluster rivets. Notice that the cluster rivets add just a more subtle type of sustain than the traditional placement. I'd like to talk about playing time on the ride cymbal, starting with the jazz ride pattern. From its prominence in the bebop movement in the mid-1940s, the jazz ride pattern is an important aspect of your overall drum sound. The phrases that you play, or where you feel the pulse or beat, relies largely on your interpretation of the ride cymbal pattern. The way you interpret the jazz ride cymbal pattern will greatly affect your phrasing around the rest of the instrument. Every drummer has his or her own interpretation of the ride pattern. No two are alike. It becomes your signature. Right now, I'm going to demonstrate 3 examples of the jazz ride cymbal pattern. The first will be a standard interpretation. The second is where the lilt is played tighter or closer together. The last example is where the lilt is played a little more separated. Now let's look at a clip of Peter Erskine and check out the sound and feel of his swing. Now let's contrast Peter's swing with a clip of Steve Gadd playing with the Buddy Rich Big Band. Instead of using a syncopated or dancing feel on the ride, he uses the butt end of his stick and lays down a quarter note groove, which creates a very strong signature feel. Now I'd like to talk about the straight 8th note rock pattern. The straight 8th note rock pattern basically came out of the shuffle pattern that was in rhythm and blues in the early 40s. The shuffle pattern was literally straightened out, thus the term straight eighth note feel. I'll play an example of a few bars of the shuffle pattern and then make the transition into the straight eighth note or rock pattern. Sixteenth note rhythms were added into the eighth note groove as well from funk music. The ride pattern is an important aspect in Latin music as well. It relies heavily on using the bell of the cymbal as opposed to the body. There are many different types of Latin rhythms, whether they're Afro-Cuban, Caribbean, Afro-Brazilian, or just plain African. Right now, I'll play a series of 4 different types of rhythms. I'll play a mambo, which comes from the Afro-Cuban, a naningo, or 6/8, which is African, a samba, which comes from Brazil, and a calypso, which comes from the Caribbean. Now let's check out a clip of Airto and his legendary cymbal sound, which he made famous with Chick Corea and Return to Forever. Notice how he uses a flat top ride to get a flowing and exciting signature sound. The same principles we've discussed in relation to ride cymbals can also apply to crash cymbals. The difference being that crash cymbals are played differently and their function in the music is also different. When you choose a crash cymbal, you might want to consider the musical context that you're playing in. If you're playing a cymbal that is too small for the musical context that you're in, you'll probably tend to overplay the cymbal. You may even break it. As with ride cymbals, the larger a crash cymbal, the more volume it produces. Here we have an A custom 19-inch crash, and over here we have an A custom 15-inch crash. The larger cymbal will produce more volume. The larger the cymbal, the more volume it produces. As with ride cymbals, a heavier crash will produce a higher pitch. A lighter crash will produce a lower pitch. We have two 17-inch crashes here. This is a medium crash, and this is an A custom crash. The medium crash will produce the higher pitch. The A custom will produce the lower pitch. The A custom crash will also produce with less effort as well. We can compare the same two cymbals for their decay. A heavier cymbal will have a slower decay. A lighter cymbal will have a faster decay. Heavier cymbal, slower decay. Lighter cymbal, faster decay. A crash cymbal with a larger bell will produce more overtones and a fuller crash sound. Here we have two 16-inch crash cymbals, one with a regular size bell, one with a larger size bell. Listen for the difference in the crash sounds. For the sake of the music and the sake of your cymbal, it's important that you have the proper technique for crashing cymbals. The idea is to draw the sound out of the cymbal rather than forcing it out. So it's better to strike a glancing blow rather than striking directly into the cymbal. The role of the crash cymbal is to punctuate accents in the music as well as to add color and excitement. It's helpful to understand what type of accents you'll be playing so that you can accommodate the right type of cymbal to those accents. For lighter accents, you can play smaller, lighter cymbals. For heavier accents, use your heavier, larger cymbals. And for definitive endings, you can play two crashes. The size of hi-hat cymbals can range from 10 inches to 15 inches. As with any other type of cymbal, the same sound principles apply. The difference with hi-hats is that they're played in pairs, so this opens up a whole world of sound possibilities. When you place a heavier or higher pitched cymbal on the bottom and a medium or light cymbal on top, this gives you a more pronounced chick sound. Zildjian developed the new beat hi-hats based on this very sound principle. The same effect can be achieved by matching a bottom cymbal from one range with a top cymbal from another range, such as the KZ combination, which has also become an industry standard. More volume and presence can be achieved by using either larger or heavier cymbals, such as the Zildjian rock hats. To demonstrate this difference, first I'll play on 14-inch new beat hats, then on the 14-inch rock hats. For basic timekeeping, there are two ways the hi-hat can be played with the foot. The first is a heel-toe technique, the heel being played on the first beat and the toe played on the second. The second way is to suspend your heel and play with just the toe. When the top hi-hat cymbal is played with your hands, the cymbals may be closed, half open, or totally open. In the swing era, drummers would play on both the top and bottom cymbals, like so. When playing a groove, the hi-hat has become an important independent voice. Foot strokes can be added to play specific parts, as in the Steve Gadd 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover beat, or to add color by splashing them together. Once you've chosen a set of cymbals that sound good individually and blend well together as a unit, it's important to consider the balance between your playing levels. If you play the verse of a song with half-open hi-hats and then go to the chorus of the song on the body of the ride cymbal, it may sound a little weak and anticlimactic, like this. But if you go to the bell of the ride cymbal, it'll complement the energy you created on the half-open hi-hats. The sound of the bell of the ride cymbal contrasts nicely with the trashy sound of the half-open hi-hats. Now I'd like to explain and demonstrate special effect cymbals. First, the splash cymbal. The splash cymbal is a smaller, thinner version of the crash cymbal and has a fast attack and decay. Swish and China cymbals have a unique sound all their own. With the upturned or flared edge, it creates a very sharp, trashy sound. This is a 16-inch China trash in a right side up position. This is a 22-inch China trash, which I have set up in the more popular inverted position. Another popular type of cymbal effect can be achieved by piggybacking, or literally placing one cymbal on top of another. Here we have a 12-inch China trash placed on top of an 18-inch K dark crash. Zildjian has created a piggyback effect cymbal specifically for this purpose. In choosing your cymbals, it's important to think of your cymbal setup as a group or unit. Each cymbal should relate to one another, and they should complement each other in the music that you make. They should create a variety of sounds and to be able to handle the range of dynamics and tonal colors in the music. Here are some considerations in choosing a cymbal. First thing, think of the musical context you'll be playing. Will it be straight ahead jazz, or heavy metal, or salsa? Second thing, think of the size or type of band you'll be playing in. Will it be a piano trio, or a big band with a lot of horns, or a lot of guitars and synthesizers with heavy amplification? Third, bring your other cymbals with you so that you can see how the cymbal you're choosing relates to the other cymbals in your setup. And don't forget, bring your own drumsticks as well, bearing in mind that a nylon tip will sound different from a wood tip. And last, bring a friend whose ears you trust very much. And hopefully, if he's a drummer, have him play the cymbal while you stand a few feet away so you can listen to your cymbal as a listener. Now let's look at a clip of Dennis Chambers. Notice how he uses left-hand crashes, and notice the angle of his cymbals. Now let's look at a clip of Omar Hakim. Notice how his balanced setup allows him to get multiple uses out of each cymbal. Here's a clip of another player with a very identifiable cymbal sound, Simon Phillips. Now let's hear from Kenny Aronoff about how he chooses cymbals for recording.
So basically, you know, in the studio, I use so many different types of cymbals, you know, or different types of ride cymbals depending on the song. You know, if I'm playing in Nashville and recording with Hank Jr., doing a ballad with someone like John Barry, or you know that type of ballad type music, I don't need hard rock cymbal. I need something that's going to be a little bit more sensitive and have more definition to it, like an A custom, or maybe one of the a medium ride, and I play with lighter touch. But when I'm playing like hard rock in the studio, if I'm doing like a Cinderella record, or even like a Mellencamp record, or something that's more aggressive, then I need a cymbal like a 21-inch rock ride. The way I choose a crash cymbal depends on whether I'm in the studio or playing live. Now live, when I'm playing with like John Mellencamp in the bigger halls, like 10,000 and up, I tend to use 19-inch crash cymbals, 19-inch rock crashes, because they're just more powerful. Now in the studio, that's a whole different thing. I'll use anything from a 14-inch crash to even a 20-inch like light ride as a crash cymbal. And it varies on the group and the song and the room and what other instruments are being used. Certain rooms will bring out certain frequencies. Certain rooms are brighter, so I'll go to maybe a smaller, darker cymbal, like a K, or some rooms are dead and need, a fuller sound, a fuller cymbal, something that rings and explodes. Like if I'm playing a real hard rock song, and they're really miking the drums in such a way where a lot of room mics are being used, and they want the drums to really be explosive, well, the cymbals sometimes will be overbearing for the way they've, the way they've turned the volume up on the mics. So I have to use smaller cymbals so that I can hit them hard and not blow out the speakers in the studio, or put too much volume on tape. And then on the other hand, I can use bigger cymbals if they're not turning the volume up on the overheads or the room mics. So it really depends on the situation I'm in. I think the most universal and perfect hi-hat, if I was to pick one set of hi-hats, would be the 14-inch new beats, because the new beats give you probably the most dynamic range of any hi-hat cymbals that's made. I can play rock and roll, real aggressive rock and roll, and then I can tighten down and get very soft and play very, very intricate stuff without it being like so metallic that you don't have some sustain to the cymbal. But that's not to say that when I'm in the studio, that there'll be a song where I suddenly like to take a 13-inch Z bottom and put a 13-inch K top on, or reverse. And I will get different hi-hat combinations depending on the song, depending on the frequencies that the other instruments are playing. Because I want the hi-hats to I want on tape all the little intricate things that I'm playing on the hi-hat to come on tape. And if you don't have the right frequencies or the right pitches of the hi-hat, then it gets kind of lost in with the guitars, or maybe the keyboards. But I need the entire selection of cymbals, different styles and different sizes, to cover it all in the studio.
If you properly take care of your cymbals, they'll last a long time for you. One way to do this is to know how to properly mount your cymbal. First, you take a felt and put it on the bottom so that you can support the cymbal from the bottom. Next, you put a nylon or plastic sleeve to avoid metal-to-metal contact with the cymbal and the stand. Mount your cymbal nicely. Place a felt on top, and just lightly secure your wing nut on top to keep it from flying off the stand. Now, one thing you shouldn't do under any circumstances is to over-tighten your wing nut. Over-tightening your wing nut is the #1 cause of cymbal breakage. So remember, just keep it nice and snug. but not too tight. Also, you got to let the cymbal vibrate. Your hi-hats should be mounted properly as well. So make sure you have a felt on the bottom for the bottom cymbal with the plastic sleeve between. And make sure you have felts on the bottom and the top of your top hi-hat cymbal. And make sure you don't tighten it too tight so it can vibrate freely. For cleaning new cymbals, try using a solution of warm water and liquid detergent. For older or very dirty cymbals, use a cymbal cleaning cream developed by Zildjian. And remember, use the cymbal cleaning cream sparingly. Less is more in this case. And by all means, don't use any metal polishes or abrasives which can harm the cymbal. When you're not using your cymbals, keep them in a cymbal bag and store them in a dry place away from extreme temperatures. If you're traveling by bus or train, a cymbal safe is highly recommended. If you're traveling by air, a flight case in addition to your cymbal safe or bag is recommended.